Welcome back everyone. In this video we're going to learn about statistics. The topic that we're going to cover here are graphical representation of data, types of graphs, and we're going to discuss bar graph in details. So without any further ado, let's get started. Let us look at some of the importance of graphical representation of data. The first one is instant conveyance. Okay, now we know that it is easier to convey in simple language rather than in a very complicated language. So if you have a data which is very complicated to understand, we can simply represent it in the form of graph and we can convey our information very easily. Second one is ease to understand. Again, the complicated data are very difficult to understand, especially if there is a relationship between them. So if you put a graph versus the data, we know that graphs is very easy to understand. Thirdly, we have generation of enjoyment. Obviously you will understand this with very ease, so obviously you will enjoy the explanation. Okay, now there are three types of graph. The first one is bar graph. This is the one that we're going to explain briefly in the upcoming part of the video. Second one is histogram. Third one is frequency polygon. These two will be covering up in the next video. So let's talk about bar graph. Now, bars of uniform width. Okay, so bar graphs, they consist of bars of uniform width. So this is how graphs look like, and a bar graph has these columns, so as you can see in the picture. Now these columns are drawn against x-axis and y-axis. On the x-axis we plot the variables, alright, so as you can see in this picture, and on the y-axis we put the value of the corresponding variable. Okay, you can pause this picture or you can pause this video to see the bar graph. To understand bar graph more clearly, let us take some examples. Okay, so let us look at the question shown on the left hand side of your screen. The following table gives the number of students in class 9 in a school during the academic years 2012 to 13 to 2016 to 17. Okay, so we have academic year from 2012 13, 13 14, 14 15, 15 16, 16 17. Okay, and the number of students are 100, 125, 200, 250, 300 respectively. Now we'll have to plot a bar graph for this table. Let's see how do we do that. So first of all, we plot x-axis and y-axis. Okay, and in x-axis we write the values given in the first column, that is the academic year. So as you can see, 2012 13, 13 to 14, 14 to 15, 15 to 16, and 16 to 17. Okay, now so we have these position of the columns. Now we'll have to understand where should we extend this column to, or how much the height of the column should be. So that is determined by the second column, that is number of students. So if you see, for 2012 to 13 we have 100 students, so we'll put a point here on 100 and we will draw this column up to this height. Similarly for 13 to 14 it is 125, so we'll plot a point 125 and we will draw up to 125. Similarly for all the columns. Again, you may pause the video and try to understand this bar graph. Let us look at the second problem. A family with monthly income of 40,000 had planned the following expenditure per month under following heads. So under rent they're spending 6. Okay, now expenditure is in thousand, so 6 would mean 6,000. Okay, 6 into 1,000. Grocery 7,000, medicine 3,000, education of children 6,000, clothing 5,000, entertainment 3,000, miscellaneous 8,000, and savings 2,000. So how do we do this? Again, we plot x-axis and y-axis. Along the x-axis we plot all the heads, that is the first column, that is rent, grocery, medicine, and so on. Along the y-axis we'll be plotting the expenditure. Alright, now we don't need to plot expenditures like 1000, 2000. We can just plot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and we can mention here expenditure in 1000. Okay, and here heads and this side arrow. Okay, now again the bar position is fixed. Okay, the position will be here, and now it is time to decide the height of the bar. Okay, so to decide the height of the bar of rent, let's see the value that is beside rent. So we see the corresponding value to rent is 6, that is 6000. So it will go all the way up to 6. For grocery it will go all the way up to 7. For medicine it will go all the way up to 3000, and so on. So this is how the bar graph is created. It is to be noted that for a bar graph we need to give space between the two columns. Okay, now let us look at how to read a bar graph. Okay, so all this while we have learned how to create a bar graph. Now we will learn how to read a bar graph. So to understand that, let's see an example. In a particular section of class 9, 40 students were asked about the month of their birth, and following graph was prepared from the data so obtained. So this is the graph created. So for January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, these were the numbers of students, okay, that had that particular month as their birth month. Okay, so let's see. So we see this is the month of birth and this is the number of students. Okay, now observe the bar graph, okay, and see how many students were born in the month of October. Alright, now to see how many students were born in the month of October, we need to go to the October column. So this is Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So this is our required month. Now if you see, the October month goes all the way up to here, and if you trace the corresponding value, we get 4. Alright, so we can say that 4 students were born in the month of October. Okay, so number of students born in October. In which month were the maximum number of students born? Okay, so first of all we'll have to see which column is the highest here. So it's clear that this column is the highest. Alright, so we will conclude that in the month of August. Okay, so maximum birth of students was recorded in the month of August, that is 6. If you trace it back, you get 6. Okay, let us look at one more problem. After reading the bar graph given below, answer the following question. So this is your bar graph, and from here we'll have to answer some questions. What information is given in the bar graph? So clearly the bar graph shows the annual production in million tons. Okay, the annual production in million tons of food grains in an Indian state, okay, during 2012 to 2016. Now you can make your sentence your way, but it is important to understand the things that are shown in your bar graph. Now, in which year was the production maximum? So to see the maximum, we'll have to go to the highest column. So this is your highest column, and if you trace it back, you get 100. Okay, so the maximum was 2014, and how much? 100. After which year was there a sudden fall in the production? So here you see there is a rise, and here there is a rise, and here there is a fall. Again there is a rise. So the only fall is here. So we can say that the sudden fall is in this year. So after 2014 there was a sudden fall. Find the ratio between the maximum production and the minimum production given below. That means you'll have to divide the maximum production by minimum production. Now maximum production is already known, 100. Minimum production, you check which one is the shortest column. So this is your shortest column. So the minimum production is this. Now if you trace it back, you get 40. So 40. So it becomes 100 by 40. You may cancel further. So you get 5 by 2. So this is your required ratio. Let us look at one more sample question. Now this question is going to be different from all the questions that we have discussed so far. So please pay attention. The results of pass percentage of class 10 and class 12 students in CBSE examination for 5 years are given in the following table. So the year is given 2005, 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9 and 9 to 10. For class 10 the data is 90, 95, 90, 80, 98. For class 12 the data is 95, 80, 85, 90, 95. So by now you have guessed what is different. Yes, we have been given two variables, that is class 10 and class 12. Okay, so it is almost same, okay, just with one difference. So instead of one variable we have two variables now. Alright, so we do the same thing. We plot the years along the x-axis, so 2005 to 6, 6 to 7 and so on, and along the y-axis we plot the variables. Now since we have two variables for the same year, what we are going to do is we are going to simply put two columns, but this time we will not have any space between them since they are for the same year. Okay, now these two columns will have height according to their variable. So we see for the first variable, that is class 10, it goes all the way up to 90. For the second it goes all the way up to 95. Similarly we will do for each and every year. Okay, now it may be a confusion whether this is class 10 or this is class 12, this is class 10 or this is class 12. So to do that we will shade it differently. Okay, so let's mark this shaded one for class 10 and the non-shaded one for class 12. Now later in the exam you may get for 3 columns or 4 columns. Alright, so no need to worry about that. If there are 3 columns then there will be 3 columns here too. Okay, if 4 then 4 and so on. I hope you found reading a bar graph and drawing a bar graph very simple, but you need to practice this again and again. The more you practice, the better you're going to be, because bar graphs are very similar to histogram, and if you understand bar graph and histogram, then cumulative frequency curve becomes simpler. So with this I conclude my video. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. Take care everyone.